Hello and welcome along to the Irish Independence League of Ireland review show. Match day 5 of the League of Ireland Premier Division, 4 live games tonight. Dan, you're at Tallaght. Big win for Shamrock Rovers against Derry City. How did it go?
Yeah, hi Nathan. I feel like maybe there was more drama in some of the other games tonight, and I'm sure we'll sort of get to them in due course. But it's a strange one, this, because you sort of feel like this was going to be a heavyweight encounter. It didn't really feel that way. But there's no doubt that the better side won the game. I think you're entitled to expect a little bit more from Derry City. I know they're missing a few players, Winchester, Brandon Fleming as well. But given they were probably, like, they played so well here in the President's Cup, which, I mean, again, look, that's pre-season fodder at that point in my report. You can never read too much into that. But I guess there was a bit of reading a bit into maybe the pressure of being at home, maybe away to a game where they could have to maybe counter-attack a little bit more, but it might actually suit them. You know, at half-time, you see Josh Thomas taking off, Gavin White taking off. Just wasn't working. While Rovers weren't brilliant and they weren't necessarily like creating chance after chance, I think they had 74% possession in the first half. And when it came to it, like, you know, they were knocking on the door. I mean, it was a historic night tonight with Stephen Bradley like breaking Paddy Code's record for games in charge, which is a testament to probably his decade in charge and the success he's enjoyed. But I think the good thing probably from a Rovers perspective is that Adam Brennan, a player from the future, is the one that made it happen. You know, he won the penalty. Conor Barr, the young sub, first appearance of the season. Barry Cotter was struggling with Brennan, but the sub just a bit clumsy, wins the penalty. And if you think that Derry City are going to be title challengers this year, this should feel like a sort of momentous win for Rovers in a real game of consequence. But I think, there's just a lot of questions around Derry City still at the moment. Rovers wouldn't say they were fantastic. After last week, they still got a bit of a response and they got the job done.
There was obviously a bit of needle in the President's Cup, a few headlines afterwards. Did that carry over to tonight?
Yeah, I suppose that involved James McLean, who, there was a few chants, a few boos when he got the ball. But I'd have to say, like, probably in keeping with the whole night, it was muted enough. Didn't really ignite. McLean was in trouble towards the end for sort of a tackle on Mulroney, and probably a difficult night for him. I mean, again, like, Derry had to change their shape a little bit in the second half to almost get Ollie Inca in there, because at times they were just outnumbered, overrun. And Rovers have Burke and Byrne dropping in, just have a lot of quality, just more quality in those positions. But no, as I said, again, like, wasn't a huge travelling support. It was just a little bit flat from what you would expect maybe for a game that probably at the start of the season might have been circled in the diary as a big one. I think it's clear that Derry have a way to go. I think I feel like their sort of post-mortem, there'll be a lot more questions asked.
Yeah, it was obviously their first away game of the season after those four home games at the start. You get the sense there's frustration with the Derry fans.
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can feel it. I felt it last week up there. Then Michael Duffy sort of pulled him out of jail. But there was just, again, like, he made a lot of subs tonight. Tiernan Lynch, you just feel like he's reaching around a bit for solutions, because it's just not quite clicking. Look, it was one moment where Barr gets done. That's the real positive slant on it. You could have put it down as a brave point away at the champions if you hold on, but they didn't. And I think for them, they got Shelbourne and St. Pat's next weekend. They're big games for them.
Yeah. On the other side of the city, I was keeping an eye on St. Pat's and Shells over at Tallaght Park. Great game. Not much happened in the first half. It was a decent start, but there wasn't a lot of chances. The one thing I'm noting in the first half was Kerr McEnroy picked up an injury, which won't please Joey O'Brien. He played the rest of the first half, but he went off at half time. But it sprung to life in the second half. Pats took the lead through Ryan Edmondson getting his first goal for the club on 55 minutes. James Brown with a cross that Sam Bowen headed out on a brilliant volley. Came down from a long height, a big height, and Edmondson caught it sweetly with his right foot. Pats doubled the lead, because a couple of minutes later, Edmondson again, another delivery from James Brown, this time from a corner, and flicked on by Joe Redmond, and then Edmondson again at the back post. Shells pulled one back not long after. Piece of magic from Harry Wood, picked the ball up on the left, beat a couple of players, played a 1-2 with Sam Bone, and then finisher from a tight angle. Joey Nang probably could have done better. He was beaten on the near side of his post, got his angles kind of wrong, and then just a couple of minutes later,
John Martin, I think it was, with the goal.
Yeah, who came on for Sean Boyd, who struggled, kind of lacked match sharpness. Evan Caffrey had a shot from distance that Joey Nang tipped onto the post, and Martin was on just to tap it in from close range. Both sides were pushing for a winner. Shells actually looked more likely. Harry Wood kind of came to life after that goal. He got man of the match on Virgin, but it was Pats who got it. Max Maddock came off the bench, and another James Brown delivery from a corner. And again at the back post, Max Maddock got up and got his first goal for the club. Big scenes in the away end of Tallaght Park.
Yeah, I mean, I just like that's huge for Pats, because when they went 2-0 up, I was sort of at the game here, even chatting to a few people around. I think, people involved with Pats knew what they needed to do this season to be better. They needed to be better away from home, full stop, and it needed to be better in derbies. So when they get 2 up and it gets back to 2-2, sort of echoes of that game a couple of years ago at the end of the Damien Duff league winning season, you sort of just thought that this needed to be this needed to be, I don't know, it was a sort of a test of their character, I suppose, for Pats. And I mean, you are telling me that Shells were knocking on the door and looking for the winner. So obviously, look, it's one of those moments. But Max Mata, it's a big winter signing. And given the mood that was around Pats, like, that could just be a big moment for everyone. It's 3 wins in a row, 2 late goals in a week. And given the vibe that was around Stephen Kenny and the club, it just feels like a big moment for them.
Yeah. And a big away win as well, which he didn't get a lot of last season. Elsewhere around the league, Bohemians, the league leaders, they got their 4th win in a row, remained unbeaten down in Waterford. Sam Todd with a header there in the first half, and they apparently played very well. I know you were in contact with people at the game.
Yeah, I will point out the lights have just gone out here. For anyone watching me on YouTube, I've been plunged into darkness at Tallaght Stadium, but there's no darkness for Bows. Definitely, it seems like, I mean, I was chatting to some people then there who said in the first half they completely dominated the game. Could have been out of sight. I think Waterford again, another half-time sub. I think they changed to 3 in midfield in the second half and asked a lot more questions of Bows. And I suppose, again, a bit like last week, it's a good result, but it's not perfect. There's stuff for them to work on. But the bottom line is, I mean, again, it's the type of fixture they've struggled with last year. They've got 3 points. They've got a little bit of a gap at the top of the table, albeit it's pretty early to be talking in those terms. But yeah, Waterford on the other side of it, again, just seems to be questions around formation and personnel. Maybe similar to the opening game against Shells. That they had a good second half, but they didn't get the result. And Bows, yeah, the momentum keeps going. They play Galway next week, so again, they would see that at home as a chance to press on. It's a 3-point lead over Pats, so I mean, it's not exactly streaking away, but it all looks good.
Yeah, you mentioned Galway there, and out west tonight is our last game. Galway United against Dundalk, 2-2. Dundalk took the lead down after 12 minutes through a header by Ruby. Galway kind of turned it around through Stephen Walsh and Chris Twardek, and then Bobby Burns equalised with 10 minutes to go. Probably again, both sides really could have done with a win, but it's finished all square.
Yeah, I suppose Dundalk will be maybe happier. Again, just getting some opinions in that game. The suggestion is Dundalk were good, full value for their point. But having to come behind and like Bobby Burns, against his former club. I mean, they scored early. As I said, I've been slightly impressed by Galway this year in terms of maybe with the build-up they had to the season. It was a little bit, again, maybe a little bit flat around there. But they just, like, I mean, they went from, they came from behind to go 2-1 up. It would have been a big result. I mean, Chris Twardek come off the bench to score. You just kind of felt that it would have been a moment. I was actually just checking the teams to see. Yeah, Franz Piero was only sort of introduced very late. We were maybe expected to see him, but he's got work to do in terms of fitness. But yeah, I think it's a better result for Dundalk. I mean, realistically, with all due respect to both sides, I think staying up is the priority for them. And I think for the home team, they'll feel they have to win these games. So, yeah, like Dundalk will be happy enough, I suppose, to go away with the point.
Okay, we leave it there. So, Dan, that's it on this Friday night in the League of Ireland Premier Division. Keep up with all the latest in the League of Ireland on the Irish Independent. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.